Brian, the U.S. over the weekend has gone from playing a support role with Israel and Iran in their war to a more direct one, obviously, with the bombings. Is this the right call by President Trump?
There's no question, and I think it would have been a great call earlier. I mean, this has been our enemy for 46 years. The fact that you're enriching to the point of 80, 90%, there's no other reason to do that. That's not because you have an AI division that needs more power. It's because you want to bomb. And that is it. And now the 300 hits on our proxies, on our troops from Syria to Iraq that took place over the last 4 years. There was no reprisals ever. The Houthi rebels taking out our ships and just stopping us from using waterways, no reprisals ever. Why do I bring up the Houthis? Because they're directly supported by Iran. And we know about Hezbollah and what they did to Americans in the 80s, no reprisals ever. And now we have a president that just says, listen, I want nothing to do with war, but the intelligence is too strong. The ramifications are too great. I've already made it clear, zero enrichment. We've dealt with them 5 rounds of legitimate talks. I gave them 60 days, and they know me for 4 years, for my 4 years. They know what I'm doing. They know what I'm up to and not up to. They know we don't want to take over the country. They know we don't want to invade the country. They know that all they had to do was stop enriching uranium, and they would have gotten released from all the sanctions, and that country would have been able to thrive, and that country probably would have stayed in power with that horrible leadership, that theocracy that represses women, destroys lives, and that would have been the fact of life. And it would be, hey, bad government, not my problem. But instead, now they are vulnerable because they continue to threaten Israel. Israel has been brilliant in a way that Tom Cruise couldn't have scripted. And last night they took out 6 more airports. And now I look for reprisals. Now, what are you going to do? Just keep in mind, and General Jack Keane has schooled me on this, and I'm sure it's through sources. They said, look, this is what we're doing, and we're done. If you hit us back in any substantial way, you lose your entire oil and gas program. You have no income. You have no economy. We could take it out. You got no rockets. You lost all but 20% of your launchers. So your call. So that's why I kind of laugh when people say, well, look out for the reprisals. Yeah, I'm worried about the 700 plus, 1,200 overall that came to our border, 700 plus that are still here, Iranians. I worry about that. I know that they got agents. I know they're trying to assassinate the president, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, and Brian Hooks. I get it. But I also say, do you realize if there are reprisals, how hard you're going to be hit? And I think that when that is made clear, and despite their bluster, they've lost 9 nuclear scientists. They've lost 12 leading commanders. The rest are marked for death, and they don't know if tomorrow there's going to be somebody in their kitchen with a gun at their head. So the amount of terror inside that regime is unbelievable. So they have to be saying, bluster aside, what is the smart thing to do? And if they hit us again, you're not going to put. They are plans in place 3 deep of how they're going to get hit back.
So, Brian, we'd had the Vice President, Secretary of Defense talking about we are not enemies of the Iranian people, only of the government, not looking for regime change. The president musing differently on social media last night. Do you think that is on the table, regime change?
We're not going to do it. We don't have people on the ground to make it happen. There are people that do. It's not us. And we have no interest. And I said it last night on One Nation. That whole Colin Powell thing, if you break it, you own it. And people push back on that. But if we're the ones who overthrow the government, we own it. And we're not going to do that. And nobody wants that. I don't want to pick the next Iranian leader. But it looks like the IRGC, military run, clerics gone, Burkers off, that might be an option. It looks like some outside groups, the MEK, might be an option. There might be some options in prison right now. They say the strongest voices are locked up. If they decide to open up those prisons, somebody from Iran will emerge. That it's never going to be a democracy, but man, they're well educated, they're industrious, they have a fantastic, glamorous history. They could tap right back into that, and that's what I'm hoping. Look, I know it's never as easy as it sounds, but there's only one reason that there's not more peace in the Middle East, or maybe total peace in the Middle East, and that is Iran. And as Secretary of State Marco Rubio said last night, the reason we have bases in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and Syria is predominantly Iran, because those countries are scared and Qatar, and they need us there. And, we need a looking glass to stop the next attack.
So, Brian, right now, the president's base MAGA seems split on this attack on Iran. I think maybe it's a little overblown, but do you expect that mostly everybody will get back on board if this turns out to be successful?
I think you're wrong about that. They're not split. If you walk March Thiessen and read his column in the Washington Post, 9% of the MAGA base is against him. 9%. It is Steve Bannon, who is I don't think he showers or combs his hair. I think he's unbelievably smart, but unbelievably detached from reality and arrogant as hell. And you have other people there. We all know their names, one of which I really like, but I couldn't disagree with more. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, hardly a thought leader. So good luck. I'm not going over the edge for Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you. And Thomas Massie happens to be brilliant as a person, a scientist, but as a legislator, he belongs in a think tank. Deep thinking libertarians that doesn't add up to an effective lawmaker, because you sit there in your ideology alone. And now for him to say warmongers are rejoicing now, that's lazy, ridiculous thinking. So I just don't think it's 50-50. I know CNN makes you think that because they like trumpeting that, and that's fine, but it's just not accurate.
All right, so Brian, let's talk about something a little bit different here. You've got the mayoral primary for New York coming up here, and of all things, it's the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, given what he was doing during COVID, letting senior citizens get stuffed into nursing homes to die, and then it looks like number 2 is Zoran Mamdani, an AOC-endorsed Democratic Socialist. What in the heck is going on?
Well, I'll tell you what, it really blows me away. Mamdani is at 33 years old, never really had a real job, and really an extremist, anti-Semite, anti-Israel candidate who has great ideas like, let's make food free in New York City. What? Let's make sure that 1% pay more in taxes, or the highest state or second highest state tax in the country. We've lost more millionaires and billionaires than any other state in the country, including California. His ideas are terrible, but what worries me is he's actually in contention. This ranked choice voting, it might take 7 rounds for Cuomo to win. I would not rule out Eric Adams. I would not, because in the general, he went independent. Right. I would not rule out Eric Adams. And there's a scenario where all the Democrats carve each other up and Curtis Sliwa wins. And I'll talk about that today. George Pataki, the former governor, you could win with 28% of the vote. Curtis is extremely well known. By the way, I think he would do a phenomenal job. I don't know if you've met him, but there's no one who cares more about the city, that's done more for free for the city than him. So unlike Bernie Sanders, who talks like he wants to be a leader but never leads, Sliwa would actually do it, and the cops love him. So let's see. I just think the fact that I know he's not going to win, but the fact that he has momentum and is only 33 makes me think that this city's got no future, because after what we've been through with this horrible leadership, that they tap back into that ideology when de Blasio ruined the state with that type of thinking is makes me think that New York, where I am right now, deserves what they get.
All right, so Brian, what do you have coming up on the show today?
Well, the world reaction, the actual attack, and I'm looking for a third one. What the president's going to get when he gets to NATO on Tuesday. And I got Michael Goodwin, Michael Watley in the RNC, Lawrence Jones joining me in studio, a guy named Michael Duran, too. You're going to love him. This guy has better contacts in Israel and the Middle East than probably anyone I know. I heard him on the Free Press, talked to him on TV Friday, so he's going to do us today.
All right, Brian, thanks for talking with us. Have a great show.
Thank you.